Hey, everybody, it's Christine Parakis, and we are back. I am so excited to tell you that Karl BRYAN is back with us, and I'm just going to skip over the monumental vastness of his achievements that you will have to listen to in last week's show because there's just too much to even explain, and I want him to have the most time that we can to talk about some of the brilliant things that he has going on and that we need to know about to be better and to create career invincibility. So, Karl, welcome back to the show.
Hey, honored to be here. Glad to be back. What's happening?
Hey, I am just really excited, and let's just dive right in, because there's something that I read from you that I want to get my hand around and my head around, and I want to hear more about it from your perspective, because we talked about your opinion of Michael Gerber's book and, you know, the E-Myth and E-Myth Revisited, and he's all about building systems and ultimately franchising businesses, and I know, you know, your opinion about that, which you can happily restate, but what you talk about is how to build a business without systems. At what point can we let those go? Because I've built multi-million-dollar businesses where, you know, we've got the manuals, or I want to put HR in place, or I've got financial systems. I have things that make me feel like there's continuity when I'm, so I can step away, or then we bring new people on. They know what's expected of them. They know what the jobs are and things like that. But this piece that you wrote about in an email recently, to let people be more creative and collaborative, how do we find that balance? What is it? Tell us more about that.
That's, first of all, awesome question, and I think it's an important one. People system, look, here it is on a Post-it note for the computer. Systems stifle creativity, okay? Systems stifle creativity. And of course, this is a controversial topic and probably needs more, you know, backstory than we're going to have time to go into today. But clearly, you need to systemize the basics. It's a 101, right? But you see, most people will talk about systems, and then where do they go? Beauty question. I would say that this one might need a little more time than we're going to have here, like a little bit more of a backstory. But let me give it to you in a nutshell. If I were to put it on a Post-it note, put it on your computer, systems stifle creativity. Okay, so clearly, if you need systems within a business, that goes without saying, right? You need the basics. But if you think about systems, like the most systemized business would be McDonald's. Now, look at their staff. Okay, they're 16-year-olds. They're not looking for any creativity. So if I were to go to the opposite of that, like in my world, we're building software. So for me to build too many systems around what we do and don't want to do, what they have to, you know, like when you get an idea for software, it might happen at 2:00 in the morning, and I don't want to stop my staff from waking up, spending 45 minutes, you know, in the middle of the night, jotting down on a piece of paper, a napkin, whatever, what it is that they're looking for versus, okay, they're going to show up and they're going to work like 8 to 5. Like that would be an example of a system, right? It's like vacation time as well. Like if you look at, in fact, I wrote an email not long ago with Reed Hastings from Netflix, right? Like they don't have any limit on vacation time. Expenses within the company, they don't have any limits. You want to fly first class, you want to ride on the back of the bus, it's really up to you. But what you've got to do is you got to be answerable to the other staff members in the company and, of course, the share price and that sort of thing. So without going into it too much, systems, clearly you need the basics in place. Otherwise, you're going to have, you're just not going to have a framework. Think about systems as the rules within the company, okay? Or sorry, let's go to a sport. If you were playing football and there were no rules, you wouldn't have football. You just have mayhem, okay? So rules are absolutely mission critical. But what are the rules designed to do? Keep everybody safe, make the game fair, and provide it structure. But what do those three things have to do? They have to allow for entertainment. Otherwise, nobody's going to show up, nobody's going to watch, and the kids aren't going to want to play, right? So yes, you need to have the rule book, but you must continually update the rule book, which very few companies do, by the way. But do understand that business is a game. It's not the rules. So if you want to have high levels, if you want to have 16-year-olds flipping burgers, systems are the way to go all the way. If you want to have professionals making, $100, $300, $500, $1 million a year, you are crazy to over-systemize them because you'll just be stifling their creativity. So that's the nuts and bolts of that. And again, Michael Gerber, we said it last week when we were chatting. I would encourage you, if I want to build a business, Tim Ferriss, everybody loves Tim Ferriss. I love Tim Ferriss. Christine, no doubt you do too. The guy's never built a business, so he's not my guy, right? Well, Michael Gerber wrote an amazing book, but the guy's never built a company. They never. Look it up, right? So, and he wrote a great book, right? But am I following Michael Gerber's advice on how to grow a business? No, thank you. What I'm doing is I'm looking at Google. I'm looking at Jeff Bezos. I'm looking at Salesforce.com. I'm looking at Netflix. I'm not looking at Michael Gerber. You know what I mean? And I say that with respect, but just making sure that everybody's not running around just following these influencers because everybody's, somebody's just, it's an influencer, right? It's not a business builder. Like another really good example around building a company, what people will say is that we need to get everybody in this company on the same page, right? Christine, you've heard it. I've heard it. In fact, I've given that advice at different times. Guess what? If you are Google, you are Netflix, you are Amazon, that is the worst advice you could ever give. This is where, again, the rules of business have changed. You no longer, in my company, meetings are we have meetings when we need to have meetings. We don't have meetings because we want to have meetings, right? It's like we want to avoid them. Communication is one of the most inefficient things you can do for a company. And if you are going to have it, I would encourage folks in the way that we run our meetings, there's a lot of creativity. There's not like some structured, mandated, here's what we're covering first, here's what we're covering second. We've got a platform for here's what we're going to cover in the meeting, but we allow creativity. We let the players play the game, right? And then we get on there and it's like, where's our software going to go? What's the solution? What's the problem? What's the solution? Maybe just, again, thinking about systems. Well, here's a better idea. I get asked this all the time, and Christine, you get asked it all. Anybody good at business gets this question. Is this a good idea? Will this idea work? Will this idea be profitable, right? That's the way people think about companies and they think about ideas. That is a horrific way to start a company. It's not about an idea. That's the problem. What's the solution? The solution is to look for problems. The bigger the problem, the more people that have the problem, and the more that they'll spend to solve the problem, provide the solution to that, and that's a good company, right? So yeah, that's bigger picture. I could flow there a little bit, but I might just throw it back to you, Christine. But that, so systems stifle creativity. The best example I can give is picture you're playing hockey, football, baseball. Clearly you need rules, but the rules are designed to keep people safe, make the game fair, and to provide it structure, but you let the players play. And if you don't let the players play, if you tell the second baseman he must stand in this position at all times, whether the guy's left-handed, right-handed, or what have you, this would be a horrific rule for that team. And even I could get up there and get a base hit because I know exactly where I need to hit it. The whole idea is that they need to understand the flow of the game, trends, and that sort of thing. So I hope that helps. There you go. That's what I'd say.
Well, I think we found what your next book should be, because I really want to learn how to distinguish between the rules of business and stimulating creativity and collaboration to innovate, which I know you're doing every single day. And but this begs a couple of questions, and I really think we should get into them. And one is, you talk about you've got to have the best people, right? Because you can't you can't give that kind of leeway to a bunch of slackers who are just phoning it in or just trying to get their paycheck. And the other piece is, how does that combine with your philosophy about multiple streams of income? So let's see if we can squeeze those two things into this conversation.
I love it. Okay.
In the
I
next
love it.
10 minutes.
Yes, I know. Okay, so number one, oh shoot, what was number one? Was remind me that was
hiring
multiple
the best
streams
people,
of income.
making sure.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so here it is. One good hire. See, here it is on a Post-it note for your computer. Your greatest successes will come through other people. The end. Right?
I love that.
The lone wolf gets nowhere. The end. Drop the mic. So you've got to surround yourself with good people. But here's the X factor. Here's the magic. This is what everybody messes up. Or, well, I think. They will hire 10 people and they're just like an application process. And where do they get them from? They get them from their competition, and they pay them an extra 10 grand, or they get them from their competition with experience, and then they want to move to a different city or what have you. You get the throwaways, right? Bad way to hire for sure. Your psychological profile will beat all else. Like, I love hiring, like my top sales guy got drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates, played professional baseball, right? So like, you don't need to see him play baseball or be with him to know that he has got, in between his ears, he's got a level of competitiveness that others just couldn't fathom, right? You just don't become a professional baseball player by accident, right? Very competitive. So psychological profile is way more important than their experience. But here's the magic button, is that most people will hire 10 people, right, to do 10 different jobs. Here it is. One A-plus employee can, like, efficiency and productivity can replace up to 10 people, right? So what does that mean? You've got to take hiring very, very seriously, and then you've got to take development very, very seriously and bring them in and then develop them over time. And by the way, by giving them structure, too much structure and too many rules will stifle your ability to be able to pull the best from that individual. So that's number one, is that you've got to bring in unbelievable people and understand that your greatest successes will come from other people. The end. Stop trying to do it all yourself. You're crazy. The second one, multiple streams of income. This is a very popular topic from me. And again, it's controversial, everything else. But if anybody trying to promote multiple streams of income is trying to sell you a book or a bad program, and they probably don't know what the hell they're talking about. Okay. And don't listen to me. Let's listen to Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, right? These guys weren't going and like buying some real estate and trying to make $800 a month. Okay. It's not what they were doing. You want to build, and by the way, I want to make sure I'm talking to business owners. If I'm working for the government and I make 120 grand a year and all of these benefits and the pandemic hits and I get to just go to my beach house, I'm not talking to that guy, right? I'm talking to business owners here. If you own a company, multiple streams of income is just stupidity. Hit $5 million with your one stream of income with your company, and then talk to me about your real estate and your stocks and everything else. If you want to crush it, you want to make millions and decamillions, you want to really become legit in the business world, take your 100 grand, your 200 grand, your 30 grand, and invest it in people times a million. That's how, or by advertising. Again, I'll often say that advertising to profit is a superpower. But most people say that, like most people you'll meet, they'll tell you within 2 seconds of meeting them that they built their business, and they'll pump their chest saying on word of mouth and referrals only. Like, there's a lot of stupid things you could say to me, but that's about the stupidest, right? Because if you built your company on word of mouth and referrals, if you started advertising, you started marketing, it's like pouring gasoline on that word of mouth. So
I don't think we would have met if you had. We wouldn't have met if it had been for word of mouth, right?
Yeah. Well, what I always say is that, oh, sorry, Christy, if I could just finish with this. Everybody hates advertising until they want to sell their own car, right?
Right.
So,
well said. Thank you. But when so we're talking about like Google and Tesla are companies that have earned, let's say, the luxury of being able to go off into different, let's call them different streams of consciousness or creativity. I mean, are we at that level? That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Elon Musk, again, people rail against Elon. Elon Musk solves more problems by 9 a.m. than most people do in like a year. So don't even, you know what I mean? It's like, this, my
well,
gosh,
that's because he
right?
smokes a lot of pot.
Yeah, probably smokes in the morning too. Hey, go for it. If that's his shtick, that's his shtick. It's working.
Creativity
for him.
booster, right?
God bless him. Yeah, yes. I don't know. For me, I don't know what. I haven't done it since I was 18, but I would fall asleep. But anyway, it's just different, right? But he hit